Some months ago, I was asked to assist in inviting many of the religious leaders of America to a special meeting for the purpose of increasing the participation of religious congregations in our nation's bicentennial celebration. About 400 of us assembled in Washington, D.C., and spent 2 days together to discuss ways in which we could make a contribution to this exciting event. While I found myself having a deep respect and admiration for many of the religious leaders in attendance, I also found myself having some grave concerns over a number who I guess you would describe as the liberal element. Part of the program covering this 2-day period was to divide ourselves into small discussion groups of about 20 in number to examine the role the churches would play during this celebration. As we concluded the first day, I discussed the possibility with a bright young colleague I had invited to attend this assembly with me of preparing a document or a declaration that the churches of this land could jointly proclaim to our countrymen, a reaffirmation of our need for divine guidance, an expression of gratitude to the Lord's hand in directing the formation of the government of the United States of America. As I went to bed, I guess this young man stayed up, for when I met him for breakfast the following morning, he had an excellent draft of the proposed declaration. I was excited with the possibility of presenting it to our small discussion group as we assembled the following morning. However, my enthusiasm rapidly dissipated. We soon discovered it was the consensus of this small group of religious leaders that any declaration referring to the Lord our God would not be acceptable. They reasoned that such a declaration would be offensive to the atheist. After all, they stated, the atheist has a right to his belief also. Of course, I completely agreed that all men have a right of free agency. But I vigorously argued against locking up our own firm convictions just because they do not agree with everyone. The more we argued, the more the opposition united against us. We were not able to get our declaration or any other declaration out of committee. I was so shocked with the outcome and obvious futility of our efforts that I had to seek out the religious leader who opposed our declaration. In talking to him, I found myself suffering from even a greater shock. Here was a man with divinity degrees listed in a strong list of letters behind his name, a leader of a Christian congregation, giving these kinds of answers to my questions. Do you not believe that God inspired the early leaders of this country in the formation of this great nation? The answer: I find no evidence in my studies of God's hand directing the affairs of mankind in any age. Question: with such a philosophy, how do you stand in front of your congregations each week and teach Christian doctrine? Answer: oh, it is not difficult. I gather together a representative group of the congregation, and whatever is their consensus of this group, that is what I preach. Once again, I repeat that while in Washington, attending this gathering, I met many devout and wonderful church leaders. But I must say, as I returned home from this trip, I had a growing concern that from the pulpits of many of our churches in this land, as well as in the world in general, there is an increasing tendency to teach the doctrines of man rather than that which God has directed. As the meeting concluded, I had great disappointment that a declaration of gratitude to our Eternal Father had not been pronounced or produced by this great body of religious leaders.